Hey everyone, welcome back to TechMechie. Today we'll be talking about one of the top streaming devices on the market, the 3rd gen Apple TV 4K. We're actually going to be giving away an Apple TV 4K in an upcoming giveaway. We're going to release a video about a week from now with instructions on how to enter. So keep an eye out for that video, make sure you're subscribed, and let's talk about the Apple TV 4K. The latest 3rd generation of the Apple TV 4K was released in November of 2022, and it offers an improved processor and twice the storage over the previous gen's models. The A15 processor in the Apple TV 4K consists of a 5-core CPU and 5-core GPU, along with 4GB of RAM. In addition to support for Dolby Vision, the new 3rd gen Apple TV 4K also supports HDR10+. This is great news for TV owners that own HDR10+ supported sets, particularly Samsung owners. In the box you'll find the Apple TV 4K, its Siri remote, and a power cord. For this new 3rd gen model, the remote features USB-C charging instead of the traditional Apple Lightning cable. Also, a heads up, there's no included USB-C cable and AC adapter for charging the remote. You'll have to provide your own. Connectivity is pretty straightforward in the back. You've got one HDMI out port, and if you purchase the 128GB storage model, you also get the Gigabit Ethernet port seen here. So you'll have the option of a wired connection if you prefer that instead of Wi-Fi. The 64GB storage models don't have an Ethernet port, so your only option for connection on that model will be Wi-Fi. The Siri remote has all the basic controls you need: a touch-enabled clickpad, back and home buttons, a play-pause button, volume controls, and a mute button, and a button on the side to activate the Siri mic for voice commands. Apple states you can get several months of battery life off a single charge with typical usage. Overall, I found navigating through apps and streaming content to be smooth and easy on the Apple TV 4K, especially compared to the home screens and streaming apps found on many smart TVs. This isn't surprising given the decent hardware in the new 3rd gen. The Apple TV 4K should definitely age well and give you plenty of years of service before needing to upgrade. The main home screen is pretty straightforward and familiar if you've used any Apple TV streaming devices in the past. You'll see apps arranged in a basic grid with 5 apps per row, with a highlighted top row where you can place your most used apps. Apps placed in the top row will provide your Apple TV 4K with info on what you watch, and will give the streamer insight into what shows and movies to recommend to you. Your most frequently used apps should be placed in the top row to take advantage of that feature. Voice commands on the Apple TV 4K are very intuitive and can make the viewing experience much easier. Just make sure Siri is turned on in the general settings. In this example, I'm skipping ahead 5 minutes in the program by pausing and scrolling ahead with the touchpad. You can see I start from the 8-minute mark and end at the 13-minute mark. After rewinding back to the same spot, I just hit the mic button and said fast forward 5 minutes, and I got to the 13-minute mark faster and easier. If you can't understand what was said in a part of the dialogue, you can give the voice command, "What did he say?" and the streamer will rewind the video 10 seconds and turn on the subtitles. Try out different commands and see what the streamer will do. And because Siri is built in, the Apple TV 4K can answer any general questions you may have about the content you are watching, or even something unrelated. Here I asked when the Major League Baseball season is starting, what the time was, and what the weather was like outside. One of the most important settings to adjust when first setting up the Apple TV streamer is changing the default format to 4K SDR in the video settings. You also want to go to the Match Content menu and make sure that the Match Dynamic Range and Match Frame Rate options are set to on. These settings should prevent any SDR content from being forced to display in HDR. Many users also suggest switching the HDMI output from YCbCR to RGB High. You can try both for yourself and see if one option looks better on your TV than the other. You can also adjust what happens when you press the TV button on the remote. By default, pressing it will take you to the Apple TV app screen shown here. However, if you never use the Apple TV app, you can change it to take you directly to the home screen when the button is pressed. Double-clicking the home button will show all active apps. From here you can swipe through and quickly switch between apps, or close any active apps you aren't using by swiping up on the directional pad. Like I said earlier, there are 2 versions of the 3rd gen Apple TV 4K available. There's a Wi-Fi only model that has 64GB of storage, and a 128GB model that includes an Ethernet port, so you can choose between connecting wirelessly or by Ethernet cable. Most users won't need 128GB of storage on their Apple TV 4K, unless they plan on downloading a ton of games and apps. And if you typically don't experience interference on your wireless network, you probably won't need a wired Ethernet connection. There is one more notable difference between the two models available. Only the 128GB model has support for Thread. Thread is a low-powered wireless connectivity standard that compatible smart home devices can use to communicate with each other. Many current and future smart home devices will be Thread-enabled, and the 128GB Apple TV 4K model can act as a hub that can connect all your Thread devices to the internet, so you can control those devices while you're away from home. I would recommend spending $20 more to get the 128GB version if you plan on building up a Thread-enabled smart home, and you want the Apple TV 4K to act as a hub. Overall, I enjoy using the Apple TV 4K as a streaming device. If you own a lot of Apple devices, the Apple TV 4K will fit into your ecosystem nicely. The only other Apple device that I own is a barely functioning 9-year-old iPad Air, so there's definitely some useful features on the Apple TV 4K that I'm missing out on. But I think it still offers a great streaming experience that most other devices can't match, and I would recommend it to both Apple and non-Apple users. Thanks for watching, everyone. Like I said, we're going to be giving away this brand new Apple TV 4K this month in our first giveaway. We're going to release a video about a week from now with instructions on how to enter. Please subscribe and stay tuned to the channel so you don't miss out. Comment below about what you think about the new Apple TV 4K. Share the contest info with anyone you think would want to win one, and we'll see you in the next video.